And we'd like to welcome you back to this special edition of the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm John Bachmann. Steve Malzberg will be Skyping in here in just a moment, live from New Jersey. A lot of folks affected by this winter storm. Steve is one of them, although he might not admit it. We're glad to have him with us. All things will be back to normal tomorrow here on Newsmax TV, whatever that might mean. We do want to get to more of your calls. Here's the number on how you can reach us. And it's been a pleasure speaking with so many of you calling in over the last couple of days, getting to hear your opinions, and that's what Newsmax TV is all about. We want to get a wide range of opinions here on our air, not just something, those same tried and true, maybe not tried and true, but those same trite comments you hear from so much of the other media outlets out there. All right, again, as I mentioned, John Bachmann, Steve Malzberg Skyping in. Our first caller, Steve, is Edgar, who's calling to us from Nevada, and he wants to talk about water rights. Hang on. Go ahead, Edgar.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
It's our pleasure.
Great. We've got a little bit of rain going on here today that we need a lot. But what I wanted to bring up was water rights and land rights and the pacts that were made on the western states when they joined the Union. After a short number of years, the government was supposed to cede the land rights back to the states, and that was 120 years ago in some cases. It's never been done, and it's something that needs to be done. And I'd like to see this on the show, some discussion on land rights and water rights on Newsmax.
All right. Well, it's an interesting topic, and Steve, I don't know how familiar you are with this topic, but in more general terms here, Edgar makes a good point, because when the federal government makes a promise that they're going to give something back to the American public, rarely does that ever happen.
Right. It's like a tax that's temporary. It never goes away. That's also true. And, you know, I know that Edgar's talking about a lot more than this. But, you know, you point to what happened in Vegas, the standoff. You also look at what's going on in California, where farms are dried up and the government won't allow the water to be rerouted in that direction to satisfy the needs of the farmers, because it might kill a worm or something like that. Right. So, this country has a lot of problems when it comes to those kinds of things. And we shouldn't underestimate it just because we live in the Northeast and it really doesn't affect us, or we live in any part where it doesn't affect us. These are real problems affecting real people, and we all need to take an interest in that. And I think that's a good suggestion. We should talk a little bit more about it.
Well, JD knows a lot about this, and he's covered this subject quite a bit, and we might leave it up to him, who's from Arizona and knows more about these issues. But we'll try to heed Edgar's plea to have more discussions about topics like that coming up. Our next caller is Frank. Frank, we've been talking about a wide range of things, Bo Bergdahl, the GOP field, even water rights out west. What's your topic? What would you like to talk about with Steve and I?
Hey, Steve, I'd just like to get a plug in for Dr. Ben.
Whoops. I think he dropped the phone.
Yeah. But I mean, Dr. Ben kind of has that reputation going. You can call him Dr. Ben. That'd be a great nickname for him out on the trail. But more and more people, and it's the more folks tune in, they listen to Ben Carson's story. You talk, Steve, about his childhood. If anybody has heard about Ben Carson's childhood and how he taught himself with the help of his mom, did not have a lot of the privilege that a lot of kids had growing up, and he has risen to the position of the most prominent pediatric neurosurgeon in this country, and an outsider in the political game, an outsider that a lot of folks, including our friend Frank, want to see run for the White House.
Yeah, I will say this. We've talked about passion and fire in the belly, which doesn't always come off, or come out when you're listening to or watching Ben Carson. I think he needs to pick that up. He's also made some statements, to others and to me, while I've interviewed him, that I know are going to come back to haunt him, where he said something to the effect of, even if I run for president, doesn't really mean I want to be president. I mean, things like that. So I just think he needs to, if he runs, have to say, I'm running for president because I want to be president more than anything else in the world, and here's why. And he's got to do it like that, and then not to lose who he is, not to be me, certainly, but I just think he needs to define it a little more.
All right, Steve, we'll talk, I'm sure, more about the candidates coming up. We also want to mention, coming up, we're going to have our exclusive interview with Chris Kyle from a couple of years ago, what he said back then that still rings true very much today.